given the opportunity, for which I'm very grateful, to come and say a couple of words to you this morning about Superstorm Sandy, or as we call it in my community, that effing storm. My community was hit pretty hard by the storm. About 2/3 of our people are out of their homes. About 1/3 of their homes were completely destroyed. And so my church, Bethany, along with 2 other churches in our village, became what FEMA calls a pod, a point of distribution within a few days after the storm. So from that perspective, I'd like to talk for a minute about what our experience taught us about who our neighbors really are. And I think it's a wonderful analogy because, frankly, being in something like Superstorm Sandy is actually not that much different from being mugged and left bleeding on the side of the road. At first, you're in shock. You're not exactly sure what happened to you or how bad it really is. You look at the boat that's sitting on what's left of your front porch, for example, and you think stupid things. They go through your mind like, gee, is that a 32-footer or a 36-footer? I mean, it's very hard to process. People are all around you. Some of them are trying to help you, but all you hear is a lot of noise. And so your neighbor becomes the one who acts, the one who reaches out and says, here, come with me, sit down, let me get you some help. Here's a blanket, how about a cup of coffee? People like our little volunteer fire department, which answered 176 rescue calls in the first 36 hours, even though about half of them had lost their own homes. They were the same guys who came banging on my door during the storm in the middle of the night asking if I could put some folks up in the church because they pulled them out of cars in the streets or out of their homes and they had nowhere to go. Or like one of my trustees who offered our church as an aid station without waiting for the committee meeting because, well, they needed to know right away. Actually, he called to let me know about it just as the first tractor trailer was backing into the driveway there. Or the lady who just showed up and started helping. She said, well, my business has been destroyed. I got no work to go to. So is it okay if I help out here? Our neighbors were the people who showed up and just started helping. She took over, she organized everything, and then she printed up a whole bunch of flyers and sent people running up and down the streets because there were no phones, so they could find out where they could go to get help. Our neighbor was the New York Conference, who called up and said, we heard what's going on, so we're sending you a check. No forms, no questionnaires, no lengthy UCC-style deliberations. Because frankly, we were up to our hindquarters in alligators. Well, actually, it was sewage and seawater. And we didn't have time for forms or deliberations. I think it was Kierkegaard who said that Christianity is a decision. And the ones who were our neighbors were the ones who made the decision to find out what we needed and get it to us as quickly as possible without asking for anything but directions. Like my brethren from the Order of Corpus Christi who emailed me a request for a list of needs, loaded a van, and drove the stuff there from Cleveland the following day. They were the people who decided to err on the side of grace. The ones who decided to risk being taken advantage of by the guilty in order to serve the innocent. The ones who recognized how profoundly humiliating as well as disconcerting it is to find oneself suddenly with nothing, dependent on the largesse of others, particularly in a community where people didn't have much, but they were used to working hard for what they had. And so they gave with empathy and with grace. They were the folks from Samaritan's Purse, a conservative evangelical ministry who sent a team out to gut houses for free and thanked folks as they did it for allowing them to do what they enjoyed doing. They were the volunteers who said to the customers at our pod, maybe you should take 2 blankets, dear. Don't be shy. After all, they're there for you. Or like the woman whose name I never got, who took a sobbing man into the kitchen and just kept her arms around him for while he cried, while quietly asking someone else to fill a bag for him because he was just too humiliated and ashamed to ask for what he needed. In short, they were the people who see the world as a place of abundance, those who took joy in their ability to say yes to others, those who looked the other way if someone maybe took 2 or even 3 toothbrushes instead of 1. They were the ones who didn't care what tribe you belonged to or where you came from, like the Catholic priest at our local church who got this check from his diocese. So he pulled me aside to make sure I knew that the money wasn't just for Catholics, at least not as far as he was concerned. So if there were any of our folks who needed it, let them know how much and he'd get it to us. And then there were the ones who walked on by. These were the ones who worried that someone might get something that they didn't really deserve. Like another church in our community that required a local ID before they would let folks have what they needed. Or the volunteers who came out to help but kept sending people away because they took too many diapers or can openers or cans of corn. They were the people who wanted to launch processes of discernment and called me up asking me to come to their churches and give presentations. They were the ones who wanted mission experiences or scout projects that I was supposed to arrange for them, because for them it seemed it was really about them, not about us. And so they went on their way, many of them irritated by our lack of gratitude for their offer, or simply baffled by the whole crazy thing. But to the rest of you, the incarnational ones, the empathetic ones, the ones who saw themselves in us, on behalf of my community and my church, I say thank you. Thank you for being our neighbor. Thank you, and God bless you.